Hi everyone, we're going to be looking at Apocalypse costumes today. Now, what I want to do at the moment is kind of just try and help break down into where a couple of mistakes go and why people make them so frequently. I think what you need to do primarily is look at kind of a couple of key things. The first thing is you need to look at where you're looking at basing kind of the Apocalypse character that you're trying to design or the kit that you're trying to make. So I mean, if you look at a couple of these areas and worlds, I mean, you need to decide whether or not you're going to have something in an arid desert. I mean, that's going to affect your costume greatly. Cityscape, things like these. Obviously, I don't own any of these images at all. Kind of Seattle, that kind of area. Whether or not it's going to be kind of Fallout related or anything like that, you just kind of need to look at the place that it's going to be set in and the time in which it's going to be taking place. There we go, a snow one. If it is snow, obviously your costume is going to massively vary from someone who is city dwelling or anything like that. So temperatures are the first thing in the world design that you need to think about. Also, something you need to think about in regards to temperatures is the temperature that you're going to be wearing this costume in. I've made a costume before, wore it to a nightclub. It's worked fine because I've had layers, and every single layer has been progressive. So I mean, if you have a look at the costumes that I wear, I'll put some images up on screen now, some video footage from the test fit. Obviously I've got my base layer, which is just jeans, a t-shirt and shoes. Then we move up to the next layer, which is just adding gloves and a scarf. Just little things like that. Massive help to just changing the overall aesthetic of the design. After that, we've then got some leg protection. These are just Riot leg pads that one of my friends Stephen gave me. Thank you very much, Stephen. He gave them to me because he was worried that they were too messed up. Perfect for me. Then after that, then we've got a combat vest and backpack combo that I made. That's actually an old tactical vest from when I used to go paintballing that I just pulled apart and modified, so it's destroyed anyway. It's about 10 years old. And an old backpack that I had, again, just spray painted that with some blacks, some whites, some greys, really let it grubby up. And then pulled the straps off so I can actually attach it manually, because trying to have a vest on and affix a backpack is hell. So again, the practicality on that side of things. You need to look at kind of the costumes as well. I mean, in regards to temperature, I mean, if you have a look at some of these, let's just pick on this one here. That one looks brilliant. Light arms out, so you're looking at probably mid temperatures on that one. Not too heavy. Again, lots and lots of layers. Nice and light. You can just wear that over the top, keep the sun off of you. One like this, probably not great for hot weathers. Obviously ones like these though, perfect for hot weather. So if you go to any of the desert festivals that exist, like Burning Man or anything like that, or there is an actually a specific post-apocalyptic one in America. I can't remember what it's called now, but I'll put a picture of the actual screenshot of what it is over this bit now. But yeah, I mean, there are tons and tons of different designs you can get. You just need to really figure out what you're going to be wearing, and sorry, not what you're going to be wearing, the temperature you're going to be wearing it in. Again, things like this. Nuclear Snail is amazing. I'm going to put a link to his things later on. Oh, hang on, this was one that I brought up as well, just because obviously this kind of area, this character looks really, really cool. I saw the picture and was like, that's awesome. But can you imagine wearing that in like 20 degrees? It's not going to be great. So it is really, really very much based on the weather that you're planning on having your setting in, the weather you're actually going to be doing it in, and kind of really nicely breaking up whether or not you want to have a heavily armored character. And I would recommend still doing a base layer as a no armor character and having the armor so that you can add it on later on and take it off. Try not to build armor that is attached permanently, because if you want to take it off because it's too heavy, that's the entire piece sort of ruined. Granted, it all looks ruined anyway, but you might just have it just perfect, and then you have to pull it apart and it tears some part that shouldn't be torn. Then what you need to look at is armor, whether or not your character actually needs armor. Again, in the aesthetic that you're trying to create, you need to figure out whether or not there's going to be bad guys, villains, raiders, mutants, other humans, zombies, vampires, whatever it is that you think there may be, you need to create armor to defend against that. So this is brilliant, but it leads me on to our next point, which is comfort. Now this looks amazing. Obviously he doesn't have a left hand anymore, so opening a can of beer might be a bit difficult one-handed, but it's whether or not it's going to be too heavy. Now I've worn backpacks all around for some of the LARPs that I do, and they just get so heavy and they kill your shoulders. So it's kind of, you have to go against what's going to look cool, along with kind of what's going to be comfortable. Now this guy, ZNA, he does lots of really, really good videos on making armor and things like that. His best one as well that didn't look as though it was too outlandish or too heavy was the stab-proof body armor. That's really good, made out of tread plate and just belts. So really, really nice. If it's tread plates, it wouldn't be too lightweight, but it's not going to massively weigh you down. It should be fine. Bending over might be a bit of a difficulty, but that's about it. His helmet as well, very, very good. Again, just for prop value. He also makes a ton of actual weapons as well. If you do make any of them, please be careful, just as he says in all of his, shuriken, stompers, battle axes, all that kind of stuff. Really, really good channel. Really recommend going and checking it out if you like this kind of stuff. Yeah, so adornment as well. I mean, if you look at this guy here, in regards to armor, obviously this guy hasn't got anything. Perfect for hot weathers, mid-range weathers, that kind of thing. But in regards to adornment makes a kind of decoration can really lead to a winning costume actually being sold. I mean, if you just had the t-shirts and the jeans, it'd be brilliant. They'd all be torn up. It'd look amazing. But it's the practicality side of it that I think sells kits and costumes. So, I mean, if you look at this, you go, okay, cool, it's an Apocalypse guy. Obviously, he's got his axe, winner. He's got the standard Apocalypse scarf. You've got to have one of them. They're actually quite handy because you can use them tourniquet. You can filter water through them. So actually, it's not just I look really, really cool. It's also, they are useful. Also got duct tape on a roll, because duct tape. Pistol and just a belt holder. We've got all the little bits of fabric and cloth and kind of arm guards and stuff, and just like the odd glove. Not a set, never a set. I mean, they really help sell a character. I mean, just looking through here as well, carabiners, get some carabiners, just dirty them up, make them look amazing. Bit of brown spray, bit of black spray, bit of silver spray, or just whack it all over them and they'll look brilliant. Sand them all down. This looks like shoulder plates for American football. So again, nice lightweight stuff, meant to be worn for a series of time, but when grubbied up can look perfect for armor and is very comfortable as well. Adornment wise, obviously you've got a bullet belt running around the back there, which looks amazing as a collar, can be bought quite cheaply, but again, it's whether or not it's available in your area. The next part that I wanted to get into as well is availability. So obviously I live in the UK. I don't really have American football style shoulder pads here, so I don't have any. If my character is based in the UK, then I'm not going to have anything like that available to me. Along with guns and things like that, you need to really look at what your character could actually get in their setting, and whether or not it's available to them, and if so, how rare it is. The rarity of the item as well. I mean, if you do a UK-based LARP and you manage to get an AR-15, LARP character, you manage to get something like an AR-15, you want to have your character running around with something like that, or an M16 assault rifle, something really, really cool and badass that would genuinely be cool to have in the Apocalypse. You need to remember as well that kind of thing is, I feel as though they would look after that. It wouldn't be as dirty, as grimy, as rusted as the rest of their kit. I feel as though something like that would be very specific and precious to them, almost as an emergency trading tool, worst case scenario, as well as a possible lifesaver. But weapons and armor, I think you really need to look at the setting that you have and know whether or not they would be available to them in the event of the Apocalypse that you're sorting out. There's no point in having someone in the UK running around fully kitted up with all these guns and ammo and American football style shoulder, because where would you get them? You can't really get them over here. Not in my town anyway. Well, not in my city, sorry. It's got enough cathedrals to be counted as a city. But yeah, I think it's matching where your character is to the things that he has is a really, really big aspect in how to sell the costume. Colours are the next thing I wanted to go into. Now, obviously, dark and drab is where it goes. So you've always got your greens, your tans, your beiges, your browns. generally your off-color palette set. So rather than your standard colors of a blue, like a sky blue, you would have something more like a navy blue. Rather than having green, you would have olive. Rather than having white, you would have cream or tan. Rather than having red, you might have burgundy, except maybe for some detailing. Blacks, obviously standard. Greys, standard. Try and stick to that kind of very earthy, very autumnal colours would really help sell it for a base costume. Now, obviously, if you're doing an Arctic costume, you want whites, you want light blues, you want all of these kind of colours. And if you're doing more of a summer costume, you're playing in an area, or you've got an apocalypse where there is plenty of flora and fauna, and maybe some lighter colours, a couple of dots of red, a couple of dots of lighter greens and kind of orangey ambers would really, really help as well for camouflage, things like that. Again, if you're based in the city, you want a lot of greys, whites, blacks. Try and keep it very much to shades rather than actual colours. Now, when it comes to actually the costume itself, you've kind of got two lots of kit you can go to. You can either go kind of modern day-ish standard wear and tear kind of kit, where it's very much like The Walking Dead, standard clothes, just tear them up, and you can go away from that. Or you can go the kind of hyper distressed, again, like this one, where it's the hyper costume. Or you go more kind of, lost it now, more kind of just your standard apocalypse clothes. One tab that I did not find prior to recording. Yeah, so here we go. Something like, I think this is the Road. I mean, you look at these, it's just your standard clothes, grubby, dirtied up. There's nothing special. There's no spark plugs sticking out of shoulder pads, anything like that. I mean, as well, not to just type it in here, but if you want this kind of kit, definitely have a look at The Last of Us and the costuming and that. Again, it's very much standard shirt, just dirtied up, backpack dirtied up, jeans dirtied up, all of the character types in these. It's all just your standard, even the infected, it's all your standard, just clothes, basically. Nothing hyper futuristic or hyper fantasy. It's all just standard clothes you might have laying around the house that you never wear anymore. Soak them in tea, job's a good one. Now, when it comes to weathering the clothes, which you might want to do in something like this, again, you want to go to a guy called Nuclear Snail. If you want the hyper stylized, he's very, very good at these. So, I mean, he's basically the guy you need to go to. But you've got tons and tons of videos of how to ultra distress clothes to the point of them just being tatters, and loads of ideas and help, and how to make metal armor, different bits of costume, all these sorts of things. Really, really good. Really recommend having a look at him. Some Rust Effect things as well. And again, these are pushed to the very extreme of the fantasy spectrum for the costumes. So again, his stuff goes all the way to Mad Max style, completely destroyed, completely ruined. But what you can do is you can take them in moderation. So his dirtying effect, if you just want to have a kind of more The Last of Us Walking Dead aspect, just crank it down to like 1 out of 10. If he's a 10, which he is, crank it down to like 1. You get that mild grubbying, the mild damage, not just shreds of fabric. And just really crank it down and hit the microphone. Really crank it down. You can really get the kind of the scale that you need. And the best thing you can possibly do when distressing clothes is do a little bit, do less than what you think you need, put them on, have a look in the mirror, see the areas that need more work, and always try and work on the areas that would get a lot of wear and tear. So elbows, edges on coats, collars, cuffs, ankle areas on clothes, knees, that kind of thing there. The places where normal clothes would go after wear and tear, try and really hit them up as well with distressing and damaging, if that's what you're going for, is they're the key areas. Also, for other key areas, if you're doing t-shirts or vests, what you can do is you can stage stain pits and the back. You soak it in tea once, that area at least, kind of dab it on with a sponge, let it run down, make sure it's hanging, and then the tea will soak down the armpit areas. You let it dry, do it again and again and again. You get the ringed effect of just sweat and grease over a series of years or months wearing it. And again, that's a very gradual thing. You can keep adding and adding and adding to make it either worse or just one or two, depending on how many months or years it's been existing. In regards to coloration, it doesn't always have to be just drab colors and hyper damaged articles of clothing. I mean, this is from a really, really good film called Turbo Kid. It's on Netflix, I believe. I mean, look at the coloration on here. These are the two main characters, but their clothes aren't destroyed. Their clothes aren't completely shot to pieces. They are pretty good. I mean, they are the only two hyper-coloured characters in here. But again, I think that it still works out well. I mean, here's some of the bad guys in here. I mean, you've got detailing. The clothes aren't destroyed. Not all of them. Some of them are still look pretty new, just like a black hoodie. That kind of stuff, a balaclava. And again, you've got coloration in the head. It really works to bring out the colours in details as well. But I mean, you can have fun with it. And I think that that's the key and important part of making a costume, is working out how to have fun while still doing it. There's no point in building something if you hate it by the end. But it's really, really worth having a go, even if it's just kind of I've got 20 quid, I'm going to build a Halloween costume that's for an apocalypse. Go to a charity shop, get loads of clothes, just see what works. Tear it into shreds, tie them around your head for a bandana, tie them around your arm as bandages, attach duct tape to things. If when you're making it you tear it too much, just sew it back up again as though you would do in the real world, in the apocalypse world that you're trying to create, to make it look more realistic. But yeah, just go and have fun. And I think that's kind of where I'm going to end up leaving it here. I don't know if this has been any help to anyone, but just a quick run over the points. You've got create the world in which you live in, temperatures, colours, availability of what you're going to be using, figure out if there's any armour. Next step is always comfort. Try and base it around being comfortable. You're not going to like your costume if it's difficult and horrible to wear and sweaty when it's hot or too cold when it's cold. And just remember to hit the dirtying to what you're happy with for the setting as well. So that's where I'm going to leave it. If you like this video, hit that like button. If you want to be kept up to date with what I'm doing, hit that subscribe button. And remember that all creativity is good creativity. Thanks for watching.